Hello everyone, welcome to this third episode in Python for Beginners series. Python, like any other programming language, most of the tasks you will perform will involve crunching numbers and displaying the results. As Python is mainly used for data science, machine learning, and deep learning tasks, it would be good to know how you can perform basic operations in Python for basic mathematical calculations and displaying text. So today we are going to talk about how to use Python as a desk calculator, and we'll also look at how to work with text or strings in Python. So let's have a look at first using Python as a desk calculator. So to start with, what we're going to do is we are going to start the interpreter. We can say Python in terminal, and then we can see that the interpreter is waiting for the input. So if you look at in the left side, you can see the three greater than signs. So that means that the interpreter is ready for the input. Uh, if you have statements which span multiple lines, so you can use parentheses, for example. So I can say 2 plus, and then these three dots indicate that the interpreter is waiting for the statement to complete. So I can say 2 plus 2 on the next line and then complete my command. All right, so let's have a look at how we can use Python. We can work with numbers and use Python as a desk calculator. First of all, I can just use the same 2 plus 2, for example, which just type it in the interpreter and it will just display the results. Now, all the variables, all the commands which we will run in the interpreter, they will be saved in a variable underscore. So if I try to access this variable, so I can see the previous result. So when we talk about using Python as a desk calculator, we can always manipulate the results from the previous statement. So for example, I can say underscore plus 2 and it will be 4 plus 2, and I can keep on adding this as I would do on a desk calculator. Then we have also other operations as well, like I can say 4 minus 2, the same as you would do in a calculator. I can say 5 multiplied by 5 or 6 divided by 2. About division, please note that the division is a floating point operation in Python. If you need integer division, then you need to use two slashes instead of one, and this is called floor division, which discards the fractional part. You can also look at the remainder as well, and you can also multiply and add in the same statement as well, and it will follow the mathematical rule for my multiplication and addition, whichever is prioritized first. For example, multiplication is prioritized over addition. Now, if you want to use power, so you will choose two statics. So if you want to calculate 5 squared, that will be 5 static 2. You can calculate the cube uh, of 5 as well using the same. You can use the power calculations. Now, this is how these are the basic mathematical operations you would perform on numbers in Python. Now, I've already talked about that the result of the previous statement will be saved in the variable underscore, but you can also save them in your own variables as well. You can specify these variables as well. For example, I can say width or width is equal to 5 and height of, for example, a rectangle is 4, and I can calculate the area by width static for height. And if I display the area, that will be the multiplication of width and height. If the variable is not defined and you try to access a variable, then it will give you a name error. For example, if I say I would like to access parameter, it's not defined, so it would say name error. All right. Another thing which I would like to talk about is, as I've mentioned before, that the division operation is floating point operation. So you can mix integers and floating point numbers as well, the result will be a floating point number. But if both the numbers are integers, the result would be an integer as well. You can round the numbers as well. For example, let's say 7 divided by 2, so I can always round as well. I can round to a specific number of decimal places as well. For example, in this case, 10 divided by 3, uh, I can truncate it to, for example, up to 2 decimal places by saying round 10 divided by 3 and then specifying I need 2 decimal places. You can also work with complex numbers as well. For example, you can say 3 plus 5j, and j would specify that this is the imaginary part for the complex number. So that's all the basic mathematical operations you would perform on a desk calculator, which you can replicate on in a Python environment. Let's have a look at strings. Python can also manipulate text or strings as well. Uh, these are representative by the type str. So even if you have a number, for example, you can convert it to a string by using str. You can specify strings by using double quotes, for example, this, or you can also specify using single quotes as well. You can also convert numbers to strings as well using these single or double quotes as well. Now, how would you specify text which has quotations? For example, if I say isn't, so there will be error in this case, a syntax error in this case. So what we can do is we can use double quotes outside, but then a single quote inside, so that it will be a valid string then. We can also use a combination of single quote and double quote otherwise as well. For example, I can say if I would like to highlight not here, I can use single quotes outside and highlight not with the double quotes. I can also use escape characters as well. So I can use escape character before the single quote, and that would display a valid string then. Now, if you want to start a new line, then you can use the escape character using escape character, which is, for example, I can say my first line and then \n, second line. That would be the second line. So here it's not printing on different lines, but if I say print my characters, my previous variable, so you can see they are printed on 2 different lines. I can also assign these to a variable as well, and I can then print that variable. All right. When you have, for example, escape characters, for example, if I am using an escape character \t in this case, which introduces a tab. But in some cases, for example, I'm working with Windows paths. So what would happen in that case? For example, if I have a Windows path which says C tools my program. So what will happen in this case is that it would introduce a tab instead of saying C tools. So what I can use is I can say R before the string, and it will convert it to a raw string, and I can then print as you can see I can get the raw string as it is without those escape characters. Now I can also uh, have string literals as well, which can span multiple lines. For example, I can say print, and as you can see, those 3 dots specify that this is a continuation of the previous statement. So I can say continuation of my previous statement. Next line, and then I can close this. And you can see it's now I have string literals which span over multiple lines now. Now, an interesting thing is that you can, if you want to print some characters multiple times, you can do that as well. Python, sorry, it was string. It will print Python 5 times. What I can also do is I can print n 5 times as well. So you can concatenate Python strings using the addition sign as well. And if you do not want to, if you just type two strings next to each other, will be concatenated as well. If you have long strings and you want to put them next to each other, you can always use parentheses and then type your string on the next line and it will be automatically concatenated. And you can see that your string is concatenated. So I need, if I can add some space here. So you can see my string is concatenated, although I had written it on multiple lines. Now, how do indexing works in Python? Let's clear this off and then have a look at this. Okay, so for example, I have this word Python, and I would like to index. I would like to access the character which is at position 0 in Python, in the word Python. So I would just say word and 0. So indexing in Python starts from 0 as in C. It's different from MATLAB. If you're used to, MATLAB starts indexing from 1, whereas in Python it starts from 0 as in C. So I can access the fifth character as well, which is n, and I can also access the last character by using -1. I can access the second last as with -2, and I can access the sixth last. So if I'm starting from right to left, I can access the sixth last as well, and so on. So if I say -7, then the index is out of range. We can also access a range of characters as well. So I can say word 0 to 2, and that would access the first two characters in that word. I can access the first three characters by 0 to 3. I can also access starting from 2 to 5, the characters starting from 2 to 5. I can access those. And if I try to access in this range beyond 5 characters, then it would just truncate at the last character. If I want to access the first two characters, I can exclude 0 at the start and just say colon 2 within the square brackets. I can say colon 2 within the square brackets and it will access the first two characters. Similarly, if I want to say starting from the fourth character, I want all the characters in the word, I can access those. I can also say starting from the second last character, I want all the characters up to end, so I can access those as well. Or I can say starting from the fourth last to all the way to the end. So you cannot assign items in an str object, in a string object, so you cannot replace the first character with some other character. But what you can do is, so you can concatenate these by using indexing. So if I want to replace the first character, I can always type in that character and then add it to the to the string with indexing starting from 1, and it will create the new character, new string. You can always calculate the length of these strings as well using len function. Please subscribe to the channel if you would like to continue watching the videos on Python for Beginners series. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time.